Hello, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sascha Fahrbach. On Thursday, Ukraine and the United States completed another round of negotiations, potentially paving the way for an upcoming trilateral between the United States, Ukraine, and Russia. Now, this diplomatic effort unfolds against a backdrop of more Russian strikes, which have killed and injured more civilians across Ukraine. Now, to discuss the latest, we're joined by Vira Konstantynova, former foreign policy advisor to the chairman of the Ukrainian parliament. Good to have you on TVP World. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me.
I want to begin, please, if we can. We've had these latest strikes, some figures, some up to 720 of them, 31 settlements all across the front line. Tell us a bit more about what Ukrainians are experiencing there. What's the damage that's been done?
Well, currently, according to my experience right now, we don't have electricity supply right now, but we are already resilient in terms of ensuring our, at least, needs for the some kind of normality. Yes, indeed, we have lost several, we have lost people, and we had lost our energy and critical infrastructure in some terms. And of course, it's important to notice that our people and our utility workers, they work and continue to work under the conditions of permanent threat, because Russia is trying to target them when they come into the locations in order to help people and to restore electricity supply and heating supplies. But at the same time, I would say that thanks to the prominent support and very prominent steps made by our European colleagues with ensuring our resilience in terms of electricity supplies, we had received a lot of energy equipment already. And in terms of ensuring the resilience of European and Ukrainian nation, I think that we are on the same page in terms of understanding why it's so important to protect civilians. So the last and the most important message: we still need supplies with air defense systems. We still need weapons in terms of ensuring that we can deter Russia in terms of ongoing war.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's also worth noting when we speak to experts that still a majority, especially when we look at Patriot batteries and interceptors, that still comes from the bulk from the United States. So that's really key there. I want to also ask, it's not just about deterrence, it's also about Ukraine hitting back. Looking at also those recent strikes in the Belgorod region into Russia. Tell us a bit more about what this means, and also that reach, and this ties in with the FP5 Flamingo, what kind of capabilities Ukraine has also, and how that impacts all these negotiations.
Again, from the beginning of the war, it was already understood that we need some kind of autonomy and we need some kind of long-range capabilities in order to protect ourselves. But in any case, we need to ensure the support of our European partners and our American partners in terms of protecting and ensuring our capabilities in terms of air defense, because this is the common threat, I mean the Russian Federation, and it's a common responsibility to protect innocent lives from the terror. But at the same time, it's important to notice that Fahrbach company, that was the developer of missiles, it's a very important part of our national industry, defense industry. And I should mention that there are a lot of, I would say, capabilities that could ensure, in terms of long-term war, that could ensure Ukraine's sovereignty and security. But nevertheless, the main point, I think, that we need to continue with developing the capabilities, because Ukraine, as an independent and sovereign state, we need our own defense capabilities. And in this term, I think that there are a lot of additional options, because with my understanding, I'm not the military expert. I think that that question is better to be addressed to them. But in terms of political decision-making, I think that we will continue to develop our defense industry capabilities, and that's a contribution from Ukrainian side, and it's common contribution with our European partners in terms of long-term security and prosperity in Europe.
So we kind of set the stage here still on this ongoing war, which is still something we see pictures of and people are suffering every day. At the same time, I just want to get your sense from the latest meetings in Geneva between the United States and also with Ukraine. I mean, we have very little information so far. Is this, do you get a sense that there's something more concrete now because of this? Do you sense there'll be, we're always asking when is the breakthrough coming, but what's your sense of these kind of talks and what's next?
I would say that in Ukraine, of course, we have hope that these rounds of negotiations would have outcomes in terms of at least ceasefire. But nevertheless, we need to understand and we need to be cautious because Russian the goal against Ukraine in terms of Ukrainian statehood doesn't change. And unfortunately, in terms of current political regime in Russia, I think it wouldn't change. So understanding that, I'm a bit optimistic in terms of outcomes of the Geneva round, but in terms of strategic analysis, I would say that Ukrainians and the Ukrainian state, we are prepared for continuing our resistance in any case, because it's our survival, it's a matter of our survival, but it's also a matter of the European security, because in terms of frontline nations, Ukraine as well as Poland, our Baltic colleagues, Finland, we are all frontliners. So in this regards, I think that we need to conduct negotiations, definitely. Ukraine always was the country that are ready for negotiations, and we were absolutely, in terms of President Trump's approach to negotiations, we were ready to support his efforts, and we are so grateful for all efforts of all countries that are contributing to this situation. But in terms of practical solutions, there is no concessions in terms of Ukrainian territorial integrity and sovereignty. That's an important part of international law. That's an important part of understanding that we shouldn't create any pretext for other countries, because it would mean that there is no rules anymore in this world and there is no international law in this world. So understanding that, I'm a bit realistic in terms of what's going on and what will come afterwards. And I hope that we would have at least one more additional round of technical groups, and afterwards we would have some kind of solution or idea how to organize the trilateral meeting in terms of leaders, because there are a lot of questions that should be decided only by leaders.
Yeah, and on that note, I'm curious as well, because you mentioned there that there's one of these ideas coming forward that the next trial should be at leaders level, and this is something that I think President Zelensky has said recently to Sky News, saying that he's ready to meet Putin for peace talks, but won't give up any territory. So again, we have this very, very, let's say, big conundrum here. So how likely is it that this leaders summit would actually take place in the next month or so, given that the, let's say, lines are so much very different between the two sides?
Yeah, indeed, there are a lot of questions in terms of, international law that should be negotiated in terms of present round. But again, I'm absolutely, I'm aware that we need to have some kind of solution, because our American partners, they're also pushing for this solution. And with all respect to all efforts, I would say that we need to be optimistic from one side and realistic from other. From my perspective, I think that we would have at least several rounds ahead prior to the meeting of the leaders, and we need to be sure that the result of this meeting would be achievable. That's why I'm a bit, I'm concerned right now whether the Russian side is ready to achieve any results in terms of ceasefire, at least, or in terms of monitoring of this ceasefire. According to latest reports, we have heard from our delegation members that technical groups, in the military domain, there are a lot of progress in that. But in terms of political domain, there are a lot of concerns already because Russian side is not, going to proceed with that. We have also the economic track as well with our American partners, and I guess that's very important part of negotiation right now. Nevertheless, humanitarian dimension, because we had returned our soldiers, we had returned the bodies of our soldiers, and it's important for Ukrainians to continue these efforts. But nevertheless, last point, I would say that we are on the same page with our American partners from one side. We would like to be and to see our European partners around the table as well. But we have to speed up and to ensure that diplomatic pressure on Russia is ongoing, and it's important to negotiate with our American colleagues in this dimension. How it would work, we will see, because in Ukraine we are so skeptical about any potential deals that could be made with Russia, because they had violated all previous deals we had made with them prior to this full-scale invasion.
Yeah, I just want to really quickly, just the last point, super fast. You mentioned Russia and also the European partners. The Europeans are not part of negotiations. They haven't been really. Also, this has come as a spat now between the Kremlin and also the European Union. We have in the last 24 hours Vira Konstantynova saying very much that, quoting here, nobody's waiting for you there at the negotiation table, nobody invited you there, speaking to the Europeans. What do you make of that quote, just quickly before we end?
Just one quick answer. European partners, they are already in the negotiation process, despite all, comments from Russian side, because the European partners are ready to ensure our security in terms of guarantees, and that's important part of negotiations in terms of American-European approach to this regards.
All right, so thank you so much. That was Vira Konstantynova, former foreign policy advisor to the chairman of the Ukrainian parliament. Pleasure having you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for watching. That concludes World Talks, but please stay tuned for much more right here on TVP World. Goodbye.